I mean, in terms of constructive criticism, there's really not a lot that, or anything that I found that I just wasn't happy with, or could, felt could be improved. So very, very honestly, I've I found the last 3 months really just really, really useful. It took me, probably a week to think about whether this was going to be right for me at this point, and actually whether I could afford doing sort of just one-to-one coaching. So I don't think at no point would I have kind of shied away from asking for more support or sort of something to be, if that's what I'd needed. But I really don't think there has been that kind of issue. I think what I really needed for me was just for someone else to do the thinking, which was a big part of it, because actually, I hadn't planned to do any. I hadn't planned in sort of one-to-one coaching this year. It was just, obviously that was just, I wasn't really sure what to do next. And had I just kind of walked away from the squad and not really had a plan, or sort of relied on myself to sort of program myself, then I'm in a different place right now. So it came at a very good time. And I know, I mean, I think the things I really needed to work on were, yeah, some mindset stuff around just working out what bits of training I actually enjoyed. And like Taylor's been absolutely fantastic. Every time I've had questions for him, he's been so responsive every time I've texted him, or sort of wanted to call. Brilliant sort of level of technical feedback when I've sent videos. Yeah, I really haven't found anything lacking. Yeah, because I wasn't really sure what I'd have got out of it, or yeah, it was very much just kind of, would I be able to trust the process? Because my own experience with squad rowing is that I'm not very good at trusting the process, and I was kind of like, I actually need to be ready to invest in myself and invest my time in. Yeah, I think some of it was just my whether I was sort of willing and ready to stick to a program. You know what? I think it's largely just, I mean, obviously I followed you on social media for a long time, and I see kind of all the emails that you send out, and just I think the amount of content you have that, was just spoke a lot of sense, and a lot, like the number of people you've had on the program who have kind of, I don't know, given feedback, or that you kind of, you show the results regularly.
Hmm.
And it's, that's all, that does help you buy in, because it makes you go kind of, okay, there's a whole load of people out there who have tried this and it's worked, so it's worth giving a go. Clearly, I distinctly remember reading, it was one of your newsletter emails quite a while ago now. This was like well before I joined the program. But I think it was one about sort of just being honest with yourself, and it's all very well kind of being like, oh, I'll just tell my coach that I'm not quite feeling up to training today, or this or that. But actually, the person you've got to be most honest with is yourself. Um,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, you're not going to get results if you're constantly just making excuses. And there's a difference between sort of, actually looking after yourself and learning how to rest properly, and how to do things properly, and just actually, with the hard work, without being like, oh well, I could do it tomorrow, or this or that. Squad rower, captain of squad, sort of, very, very just kind of integrated with my club and everything that was going on. And I was finding that it was, I guess, sort of quite mentally draining. I just wasn't enjoying the training, and I don't think I was necessarily training properly. And sort of, learning to take some of the ego out of it, and yeah, understanding how to do use teeth properly, that kind of thing,
Yeah.
is definitely something that I'd previously struggled with. Um, in a big way. I mean, I spent all of last season, or most of last season, injured. Yeah, I think it is literally just being able to pass on kind of the mental side of programming, and just worrying about the data side, and all of that onto someone else, and to have someone else do the thinking for you. Because actually, I mean, like I said, Taylor's been fantastic, you've been fantastic at just being encouraging and saying, ask all the questions, and rather than, me kind of doing what I normally do, which is just kind of go it alone and try and find the answer out for myself. Actually having someone who I'm like, okay, I'm not bothering this person. I just need to ask questions about my training, or just, or even just kind of when I've done a good erg and actually just want to be like, yeah, it's been really, really useful to have just other people to bounce off, and for that to be a space that I know, you know, we've created because I'm on a program, rather than, being like, oh my squad coach has 30 odd athletes to deal with. I've got, if we're having a conversation, it needs to be about something important, or no, that's been really valuable. I was really looking for to be able to sort of drill into the training I was doing, and connect that with, my fatigue levels and how I was feeling, and that I was just really, really happy with, like, being able to use the app and kind of log my scores. And also, yeah, just, I mean, the tool where you can just put in, when you're recording your scores, kind of put in how you're actually feeling on a scale of 1 to 100, and it then adjusts what you really should be outputting that day. And actually that was kind of comforting, because actually, I think usually as a rower, you have an idea of the scores you're pulling, and you don't, you can't just kind of pull up a number of, like, I'm actually this amount fatigued today, so actually I could go X amount easier. Like, it doesn't really work like that. You're always, chalking yourself up against your best scores. You want to achieve those, it's like, oh, what am I doing? Rather to, you've kind of got, data that's actually saying, well, this is your best score, but you've been doing this amount of training on, your second or third heavy week. Actually, the fact that you pulled this score today is actually fine. I think the big thing for me with that one was definitely like coming into doing a 2K, which, I haven't done a 2K for like a free rate one for years, and I had absolutely no idea what to expect. Kayla was just like, okay, there's our date. This is what we're going to do in preparation. And I kid you not, that like the week of, when I was sort of doing, I was tapering down, and I was doing, 1Ks or sort of 500s, and still not getting for those the split that I wanted for my 2K. And I was like, this is never going to happen. I'm never going to get sub A. It's just, like, how is that possible? So, and what I had when I did my 2K, I covered the screen up. I had no idea what the predicted, outcome was until I finished it, and I pulled that tape off, and I was like, I honestly, like, my first reaction was I laughed, and then I cried. That was a huge one. Huge trust the process moment. I mean, applying, there's absolutely no harm in applying. I mean, that's, even if you put that application together, and you get a, you get a spot, and you're like, actually this isn't for me, then, I mean, this was one of the really great things about that first call we had, was that you were very good at, the first thing you said to me was, if we're not fit for you, or if you're not fit for us, no hard feelings either way. We need to be honest with each other. So yeah, I mean, there's no harm in being interested, and sort of exploring whether it's an option. And yeah, to be honest, the great thing is that it's whatever you want to make it. So my experience in the last few months hasn't necessarily been about getting scores. It's just been about building some mental resilience and some confidence, and just getting to a point where I'm starting to understand how I could enjoy rowing if I come back next season, that kind of thing. Yeah, it's so individualized. It is worth it. It's worth just taking that leap of faith, sure.